Hey everyone, and welcome back to the video. You know what? Industry news can be really surprising. Like, you wake up one morning and bam! Bungie have broken ties with Activision. And normally those morning surprises in the news, they're not always good news, but this time it actually might be an exception. And also, history has a tendency to repeat itself in the funniest of ways, and you'll really see that soon. So, a bunch of information has been leaked from EA and Respawn Entertainment. Right now the sourcing is a little bit spotty, but overall things do actually line up, with trademarks being filed, websites being in operation, and an Easter egg that Andrew Wilson dropped during the EA earnings call just a little bit ago. So, Titanfall. Yup, it's silly believe the hype marketing campaign aside, it was actually quite a fantastic game. For whatever reason though, it didn't really stick. And as for its sequel, Titanfall 2, well, it almost had a more strange fate. It met a lot of Titanfall 1's criticisms head-on, shipping with a full single-player campaign and a host of welcome mechanical changes. The single-player campaign was especially notable because of how just it was able to punch above its weight so much. Was it a masterpiece? No, I don't think so, but it had a lot more heart to it than it really had any right to, and in terms of both its narrative and level design, I would say it was a resounding success. Yet the game did not perform amazingly well for EA. Why is this? Well, the overall story there is a dissection for another day, but at the time, many of us pointed out a big issue in EA's release schedule because Titanfall 2 came out very close to Battlefield 1, another EA title. EA thought the player bases wouldn't overlap that much, but given how things went, I think it's pretty damn safe to say that EA were wrong. Since then, though, Respawn Entertainment has been rather quiet, with us knowing that they were working on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but not really a great deal past that. Now, given how Visceral Games, another studio with a combination of an EA franchise shooter and a Star Wars title, ended up shutting down, I'll admit there was a few times I was a little bit worried for Respawn. It was such a pity that Titanfall wasn't able to establish a lasting franchise. I mean, the franchise is there, but it's not really a titan of the industry. And Titanfall 2, again, showed that, the studio very much had it, but it just didn't get the sales. And really, say what you want about, say, the Call of Duty franchise, which is really where the pedigree of Respawn comes from. A lot of those games are the ones that they were responsible for, like Call of Duty 4. They had great campaigns, great gameplay, really great games. So a lot of us have just been wanting to see them really have a success story. And well, while we all did know they were working on the Star Wars project, we also knew that they were working on more than just that Star Wars project. And today, well, the rumor mill pretty much has exploded. So here's what's up. Apex Legends is a new game by Respawn Entertainment set in the Titanfall universe. It is a free-to-play Battle Royale game that is said by Nibble to be a mix of Blackout and Siege. Now, I love PUBG, I like Blackout, and Siege, in my view, is pretty much in the running for the FPS of the decade. So suffice to say, that's all extremely interesting to me. Now, I'm interested in just about anything from this team, and while it being a Battle Royale is certainly not the most unique thing ever, well, for somebody like me who is not interested in Fortnite, I actually think it could be an enticing option, especially since, unlike Blackout, it will be free to play. Of course, Blackout, there's some rumors it might be spun off, but anyway, we'll leave that for now. But here's what's crazy though. It's actually set for the 4th of February release. That's Monday, which is insane. It's a surprise, and I'd go as far to say it's a pretty pleasant surprise. Now, rumors aside, the trademark filings exist, the Play Apex Twitter handle exists, playapex.com links to EA's website, as all pointed out by the excellent Nibble, so really we just have to wait and see. Now, there's a frankly hilarious amount of historical parallels here. But first, what is Apex? Well, Apex Predators are a merc unit of Titan pilots. They were the primary antagonists of Titanfall 2. Now, being called Legends, we could maybe assume this is going into the past of that organization, and I think for me really the big question is how will they handle this combat, and will Titans be there? Personally, I'd actually be fine to see them skip the Titans because, well, Titanfall just had industry-leading movement mechanics and its shooting felt great. It's just overall running around like as a pilot was awesome. So if there were no Titans, I'd be totally fine. It also could be that it will be taking on more of a MOBA sort of style, and I mean that in terms of how Rainbow Six Siege has its different characters. Having big wars of attrition in a BR environment, that certainly would be a unique twist on the Battle Royale genre. Now, as for Nibble mentioning hearing of Siege elements, well, that would... If you're going super directly, obviously Siege is a lot slower, it's got the dynamic, destructible environment, so it doesn't really seem super Titanfall-like, but it did get me thinking. Imagine a slow-paced Battle Royale in a more dense map, I mean, come on, it would basically be The Raid Battle Royale or Dread Battle Royale, which, as an aside, would be pretty damn cool. But anyway, that's the news. But we need to talk about the historical parallels, because they are crazy. So, EA is not just doing an EA, they're doing a double EA. Titanfall 2 was cannibalized by Battlefield 1. Guess what's coming out very soon? Battlefield 5 Firestorm, the Battlefield Battle Royale mode. Now, this time the fates could easily be reversed, with I think Apex's free-to-play model being a lot more alluring to people than buying Battlefield 5 for Firestorm, unless Firestorm was to also get a standalone free-to-play release. But that's not it. EA are doing a double EA, because Anthem is also coming out at some point in February, depending on the really quite funny chart that I really do plan to actually do a deeper dive on, because release dates are dying for the sake of creating artificial value, which is quite interesting. But anyway, Apex is coming out really soon, and it faces a lot of competition, but it's from other titles by the same publisher. I don't really know what to make of the plan. It does just seem quite silly. Now, it could be that they're essentially sending Firestorm out to die, and that this is really what they think will be their core Battle Royale entry, or that essentially they kind of got Firestorm for free because it's reusing assets and got thrown to a satellite team. I've got to imagine, though, that the internal political situation within EA is really quite messy, because with Battlefield 5 underperforming and then internal competition seemingly against DICE's, Firestorm, which is based off DICE's game, just the politics could be weird. Now, Firestorm could be delayed or spun out into being its own title, but it's coming out quite soon, in March, as a part of Battlefield 5's Tides of War live service. Now, pulling or delaying Firestorm would be a massive blow for that game's perhaps dwindling player base, especially because it was marketed as a core game feature since, all of its marketing. Still, it does seem like it's going to come out in March, which will just mean that EA will have two games in very much the same genre. Now, it is possible that EA think, as they did a while back, that Titanfall and Battlefield just have very different experiences and that therefore they're not really competition. Now, I think they are technically right, but Fortnite provides us with a great example. Netflix recently said that Fortnite is more competition to them than HBO. Why? Well, they are all entertainment products that compete for people's attention. So when you think about it from first principles, well, yesterday I didn't go home and watch TV because I felt like laddering in StarCraft 2. Who loses out to me playing StarCraft? Star Trek Discovery, Netflix, and CBS. I mean, I know I should really watch The Orville Season 2, which just apparently has a lot more heart to it. And yeah, STD stuff aside, you get my point though. Apex and Firestorm, they're not really competing based on genre and gameplay. They're competing for people's time. So no matter what, if there is a victory for Apex or a victory for Firestorm, one of them's probably going to lose out. And because they're both funded by EA, well, EA is going to be faced with a loss. But here's what I suspect. As far as projects go, both Firestorm and Apex may not have been that expensive to make as compared to a full new title. They both use existing engines, assets, and mechanics, yet they will likely have very different resultant gameplay experiences. Now, since they were both quite cheap to produce, maybe, the two of them combined equals the cost of a full game from scratch. Basically, EA have two titles for the price of one that technically are aimed at different audiences. This overall means that their risk exposure is fairly low, all things considered, and they have a pretty large chance of one of them doing quite well. And then if that happens, chances are the one that will do pretty well will, make up for the other one not doing as well, and that overall, it'll be a net positive for the company. So that's my read in that situation. The existence of Apex, though, kind of does line up with something else, because during that last earnings call, CEO Andrew Wilson did say that Respawn Entertainment is part of why he was so excited for the next year. And he said, a very important detail, is that they will have games, multiple games. He said games. And when people asked him, I think Blake Jorgensen said back that him saying games was literally an Easter egg in the earnings call. So Apex is certainly one of those games. What about the other one? Well, it's probably Jedi Fallen Order, which seems like a pretty interesting game, reportedly being similar to God of War in its overall style. And you know what? A game in that universe with a serious tone, it's right up my alley. I'd be really interested as long as it's, actual maturity instead of just being dark and edgy. Now, personally, look, I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I enjoy the Battlefront games when I was younger. I love the various flight games. I do like episode 4 and 5, especially 5 a lot. Past that, though, I thought 8 was pretty good. As for 9, didn't really like it. I thought it had pretty rampant philosophical inconsistency and a general lack of logic in its events and its structure. No, my problems are not to do with pink hair or those things. I just think from a technical storytelling perspective, I had issues. But that's kind of besides the point. Basically, my read is that there's some, pretty great original movies, but past that, the real quality storytelling in Star Wars seems to be from the expanded universe, with the likes of Thrawn, I think they're novels, and the Old Republic era. Well, if we could get a story like that, done with the budget and the quality of God of War, damn, I'm sold. Hey, I thought Ragtag sounded pretty cool as well, and look where that ended up. So, on the whole to me, it could be a decent year for EA. Now, aside from the constant PR battering that they're getting themselves, it could be pretty good. We could see a novel take on the Battle Royale genre. We could then see a big new Star Wars title with a narrative focus. Seems like Anthem could actually do pretty decently. So overall, it could be a good year for the publisher in terms of pumping out product, though, of course, from the consumer perspective, there's still a lot of worry about business models and all of those things. But anyway, there you go. Will this game be awful? Will it be great? I think we might find out Monday, and I'll be sure to let you know what I think. Thank you very much for watching this video. Stay tuned to the channel for more, and with that, I'll see you next time.